afternoon. We'll call to order the Tuesday, November 5th Trades Licensing Board meeting. I'll take roll call now. Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Reeves. Here. Mr. Panitsky.
Here.
Mr. Newber.
Here.
Mr. Dietrich. Mr. Ziwi.
Here.
Mr. Sessler. Mr. Bretz.
Here.
Mr. Schaaf.
Here.
Mr. Hollern. Mr. Collins. Mr. Yatsko.
Here.
Okay, roll call has been taken. You've been notified electronically of the previous meeting minutes. If there's no objection, I'll take a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Motion by Mr. Ziwi, seconded by Mr. Schaaf. Any questions on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Moving on to the secretary report. The following board members' 2-year terms expired November 1st, 2024. All were reappointed to the Trades Licensing Board for an additional 2-year term expiring November 1st, 2026. Mike Ziwi, Richard Reeves, Doug Armstrong, Mike Hollern, Albert Bretz. That concludes the secretary's report. Next is public comment. Is there public comment today? Sir? And then after you're done, just hang around in case there's some questions, okay?
Yeah.
So just state your name and your address, please.
Paul Zito. I'm at 4752 Elliott Road in Hilliard, Ohio.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get electrical license in the city here.
Okay. You had a master's license at one time,
Yes, I think it expired in 2015.
and what happened there?
I just wasn't working in the area. I had my own business, and I wasn't working in the area, so there was no reason to renew it. And so, I don't know. I get a lot of licenses. You know, every city and county wants you to license, and it's really expensive if you're not working there.
Yeah,
So-
I understand. Is there anything else you wanted to tell us today?
Well, I work for SBA Network Services now. They're the cell phone tower owners, and they own towers across the United States, and that's basically what we'd be working on. I'm not going to do any other work but for them. I'm an employee of theirs. You know, if somebody would want to put a generator in, or if they want to put a piece of equipment in, or put a new service in, then that's what we would do. Because, you know, they're like realtors, and they rent out to AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, and all those. So, that's the business that we're in.
So in the past 9 years that you haven't renewed your license, have you had any gap in your employment as an electrician?
No, no. I owned my own business up until last year, and then I went to work for SBA directly, which I was a contractor for them for 10 years or 12 years, something like that. A person, you know, doing their work.
Okay.
But I just got too much of a hassle to have employees, and nobody wanted to show up, and I was doing all the work. So I said, well, maybe I can get a job with a company, and so that's what happened.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Your license lapsed in 2016 or 15?
I think it was 15.
Are you currently licensed in Ohio?
Yes, I'm licensed in Ohio. I'm licensed in Pittsburgh. I'm licensed in Kentucky, West Virginia. Let's see, I'm licensed in a lot of places. I'm licensed in Michigan. I'm licensed in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. So we have towers all across the United States. And if there's an emergency and somebody needs to pull a permit, then I can go in and help them get that re-energized and, you know, go to work. That's what we're trying to do, establish and get things established before it's an emergency. So I'm not saying, I don't know that we have work here right now, but you know, I want to be prepared.
for a one-time license or reactivate and then keep current license with the city here?
Well, I plan on keeping a license with the city here. It's not a one-time thing because, like I said, the company owns towers here in the city and around the surrounding area.
So you, you plan to keep that current?
Yeah, I want to keep it current, you know.
Enforcement of laying laps. Like, is there procedures on that?
Yes, we'll talk about that. Okay. Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Zito? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment? Being that there's none, we'll move on in the agenda. No correspondence today. Old business. A letter was mailed out October 2nd, 2024 to John Ludwig informing him his license application for a journeyman electrician was approved. A letter was mailed out on October 2nd to Tom Musgrove informing him his request to upgrade to a master electrician was denied by the board. Now we'll move on to new business. I'm going to just reverse these. Let's do the plumbing application first. Mr. Seth Harrelson. I know you'll notice that the application date was last year, and the reason why is that Mr. Harrelson came from out of state here, and then he signed up as an apprentice, but he didn't have the hours back in 23 when he filled out the application. So they just held the application until he met the required amount, 8,000 hours of on-the-job training, which he meets now as of September.
He started his apprenticeship somewhere else?
Yes, he was living in Florida, and then he got into the apprenticeship here. So he just didn't have the on-the-job hours under our city masters.
So he currently has his hours, right?
Yes,
Okay.
he met the number of hours in September.
Key West.
You want a hard copy?
What's that measure? I'm sure it's fine. Clarified.
Motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay.
I don't see any problems.
There's a motion made by Mr. Panitsky, and it's seconded by Mr. Reeves. Is there any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yes.
I wonder why.
Any nays? And I abstain from the vote since I'm the verifier of this application.
That's the only thing we have a question on.
I knew better.
I don't know about him.
Okay. That concludes plumbing applications. Now we'll move on to electrical applications, as we heard from Mr. Zito earlier today. I think the real issue here is he he's registered and licensed in other jurisdictions, but that's inconsequential to what happens here because none of the jurisdictions that he is licensed in is reciprocal. So I don't think that any of that really makes any difference. What he's asking for is a reinstatement of his license that he had here lawfully. So there's a, you know, like we did on the application, what was it, 2 meetings ago? The gentleman had to pay all the back licensing fees for the absentee time that he was not holding the license. Isn't that correct, Christie?
Correct. Yeah.
So,
I mean, we have a precedent set.
yeah, that's my point. There's going to be some of these, there's not gonna be many, but we will see a few of these, of that group of people before the law changed that had licenses and then they didn't retain them. We'll probably see a few more, but not very many more. So. Is there any discussion?
I mean, I just asked, everything's in order with the paperwork that's been presented.
I think the back fees, is reasonable. TJ?
You can make a motion.
That is the precedence it's set, right?
Yeah, I would say so,
That's
yeah.
what we've done with the last person who had this same.
We had 2 of those, actually.
Yeah.
2 of them, yep. Mr. Sessler's correct, there was 2.
We don't want to keep changing the rules every week.
I'd say if everything's in order, then I would make a motion to approve.
There's a motion made by Mr. Panitsky. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Reeves. Is there any question on the motion? Any question on the motion? Being that there's none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order here today? No, being that there's none, take a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Bretz.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sessler. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll see you in December.